Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take these, incredibly dense reports and announcements and really try to distill them into something useful.
Yeah.
And today we are focusing on a place that's building these massive physical structures while also sort of laying down the digital blueprint for India's future. We're talking about Maharashtra.
And it's a fascinating moment to look at it because when we dig into the data, especially from the Economic Survey of Maharashtra 2024-25, which is fresh, we see this interesting tension.
Attention. How so?
Well, the state isn't just growing, it's strategically doubling down on its position in the global IT world with huge bets on infrastructure, both, silicon and concrete.
Right, and that's the core of what we need to explore today. Our source material is incredibly current, giving us a real snapshot right up to January 2025.
Exactly.
So this isn't just about abstract growth figures. It's about the actual on-the-ground environment for the IT industry right now.
Yeah.
What's the startup scene like? What's this new data infrastructure they're building? And maybe most importantly, can they find the people to do the work?
That's the mission for today. We need to synthesize these sources and pull out the real indicators, go beyond the headlines. Why is someone spending $600 million on a very specific type of data center?
Right.
And what does it really mean to have a quarter of all of India's startups? And then there's the big one. How do you even begin to tackle skilling up that massive workforce?
Okay, so let's get into it. And I think the natural place to start is right at the digital core, just to quantify where Maharashtra stands.
Right.
Because its dominance in software and startups isn't just a reputation, is it? The numbers are pretty solid.
Oh, they're decisive.
The sources basically put Maharashtra at the very top of India's startup world. And if you're looking for, a single measure of success, this is probably it.
That's right. The scale of activity here it's just unmatched. As of late January 2025, the state holds the highest share in the entire country.
And that's about 24%, right?
A staggering 24% of all startups officially recognized by DPIIT, which is the government's Department for Promoting Industry. And that recognition is key.
Why is that specific recognition so important?
Because it's not just a label. It unlocks real benefits tax breaks, easier access to government contracts, and a direct line to certain funding initiatives. It's a formal stamp of approval.
24%. So you're saying basically 1 out of every 4 recognized startups in India is based in Maharashtra.
Yes.
That's not just growth. That's a kind of hyper concentration. It creates its own gravity, pulling in talent, funding, all of it.
And it's not a one-off. This isn't just a good year for them. The state has been holding this top position for a while. The sources mentioned they were top in the Outlook Startup Outperformers 2023 rankings, and they were also one of the top 5 performers in the state's startup ranking 2022. That kind of consistency tells you the policy environment is working.
It's stable.
It's stable and it's built for long-term success. It's not just about capital flowing in, it's about the underlying policy framework.
Okay, so that's the volume of startups.
Yeah.
But in the tech world, volume is one thing, value is another. What about the big ones, the unicorns?
Well, the concentration of value is maybe even more striking. So up to October 2024, India had 117 unicorns. Companies valued over $1 billion.
Right.
Of those 117, 27 are in Maharashtra.
Again, almost a quarter.
Almost a quarter of the highest value private tech companies in the country. And these are the ones that really drive the ecosystem. They create tons of jobs, they acquire smaller companies, and they attract even more investment.
Now, that kind of concentration, you'd typically think it's all in Mumbai and Pune. But what I found really interesting in the policy details was this push to spread that success out.
This is a really forward-thinking part of their strategy. The mandate is crystal clear. There have to be at least 15 startups in each district of the state.
15 in every district. That's a fascinating detail. Why is that kind of decentralization so important for a state that already has these massive, successful city hubs?
Because it tackles a huge problem in rapidly developing economies. Regional inequality.
Brain drain.
Exactly, brain drain. If all the jobs, all the opportunities are just in Mumbai and Pune, you end up stripping the talent from smaller cities. But if you mandate that there has to be a baseline of innovation in, say, Aurangabad or Nagpur.
Then a young engineer there doesn't automatically feel like they have to move to Pune to build something cool.
Precisely. You're seeding an entrepreneurial culture locally. You're future-proofing the entire state's economy, not just 2 cities.
It makes the whole state an interconnected network, not just a couple of islands of success.
That's the idea. And that interconnectedness, that's what helps sustain the financial side of things. Which brings us to, the traditional engine room of the IT sector, software exports.
Right, let's look at the hard numbers from the STPI, the Software Technology Parks of India. These figures are really the foundation of the state's whole IT economy.
And the scale is just immense. For the last full fiscal year, 2023-24, software exports hit, get this, 1,079,275.1 crore. And to show that momentum is continuing, the interim figure for the current year, so up to mid-December 2024, was already at 1,020,752.9 crore.
So if you annualize that, they're on track to blow past the 2 lakh crore mark. That's a massive amount of foreign exchange coming into the country, let alone the state.
It really underlines Maharashtra's role as, India's main gateway for IT services to the rest of the world. This isn't just a blip. It reflects strong global demand for digital transformation, for cloud services, and it's all being supplied from right there.
And that kind of growth doesn't just happen by itself. It needs active support. Tell us a bit more about the Maharashtra State Innovation Society, or MSIS. What's their role in all this?
You can think of MSINS as the architect of the whole innovation policy. They're the agency that actually implements the Maharashtra State Innovation Startup Policy. Their job is to build the financial scaffolding that these early-stage companies desperately need.
And the most direct support is venture capital, right? The state has actually set aside a dedicated fund.
Absolutely. They've allocated a pretty substantial 500 crore fund specifically for startups and MSMEs. It's managed through 3 separate venture funds.
And that's designed to solve that classic valley of death problem for startups.
Exactly. It bridges that really difficult gap between getting your first seed money and landing a big Series A round. It's a critical piece of the puzzle. The state's involvement also gives private investors more confidence to come in.
So it's not just state money, it acts as a catalyst for private capital too.
Right. And when you put all that together, the dedicated local funding, the highest density of unicorns, and that mandate for growth in every district, you see a very deliberate, engineered plan for sustained digital growth.
It's a strategy built for both scale and geographical reach.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's the digital world. Now we have to move to the physical world that underpins it all. Because the digital economy runs on huge amounts of power, land, and cooling.
Yeah.
If the startups are the brain, this next section is about the skeleton and the nervous system. And the biggest signal of Maharashtra's commitment to the future of tech is this massive new data center investment.
This STT GDC investment is a landmark moment. I don't think that's an exaggeration. We're talking about a Singapore-based company, ST Telemedia Global Data Centers, committing up to INR 5,000 crore.
Which is about USD 600 million. That is huge. It has to be one of the largest recent foreign investments in India's data infrastructure.
It is. But the headline number, big as it is, isn't the most important part. The real story is in the technical details of what they're building.
Which is?
They are explicitly designated as AI-ready and liquid-cooled data centers. They're not just building more of the same.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who don't spend our days around server racks, why is that detail liquid-cooled so crucial right now? What does that signal?
It signals a shift from legacy computing to the future. Modern AI models, especially the really big ones, run on GPUs, graphics processing units. And these things generate an incredible amount of heat.
Far more than traditional CPUs.
Way more. Trying to cool racks and racks of high-performance GPUs with just air is incredibly inefficient and expensive. You hit a wall pretty quickly.
So liquid cooling lets you pack more computing power into a smaller space and run it efficiently.
Exactly. It's essential for handling that intense heat, which means you can run the AI workloads that everyone wants to run, and you can do it without your energy bill going through the roof. By making this investment now, Maharashtra is basically telling the world's biggest AI companies, we're ready for your most demanding work.
They're building for tomorrow's technology, not yesterday's.
That's it. And it cements their strategy to be the leader of India's Western technology corridor.
Now, that kind of strategic investment needs dedicated space.
Yeah.
And the state is actively carving out specific zones for this, right? It's not just data centers, but advanced manufacturing too.
Yes, this is where the hardware and software strategies connect. They're pushing forward with these flagship high-tech ESDM parks in 2 key spots, Ranjangaon and Talegaon.
Can you break down what ESDM is for us?
It stands for Electronic System Design and Manufacturing. For a long time, India has had to import a lot of its complex electronic hardware. The idea behind these ESDM parks is to build a local supply chain for everything from chips to circuit boards to finished products.
It's part of that Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat goal?
A huge part of it. And Ranjangaon and Talegaon are perfect locations, right near Pune. They can leverage Pune's existing industrial base, its engineering talent, and its connectivity to Mumbai's ports.
Right. And at the same time, the data centers themselves are being concentrated in specific hubs.
Yes. The dedicated zones for startups and data centers are in the places you'd expect: Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, and Taloja. They already have the high-capacity fiber optic cables, the reliable power grids, and the skilled people you need to run these facilities 24/7.
And we have to talk about the integrated industrial zone, Auric City. This really seems like a model for how to do this right.
Auric is the proof of concept. It's built as a true plug-and-play city. Companies moving in don't have to worry about getting power hookups or water treatment. It's all there, built in, often with smart city tech like citywide Wi-Fi.
And the investment numbers show that it's working.
They absolutely do. As of November 2024, Auric had attracted investments of 60,376 crore.
Wow.
And that comes with the potential for over 35,000 jobs. It just proves that if you de-risk the infrastructure side of things for big companies, they will come.
That's an incredible return. Okay, shifting gears slightly, but staying with hardware. All this new tech, the servers, the electronics, it eventually becomes e-waste. What's the plan for that?
A modern tech economy has to have an answer for this, especially with global investors focused on ESG criteria. The Maharashtra Pollution Control Board has authorized 226 industries specifically for dismantling and recycling e-waste.
And what kind of capacity are we talking about?
It's substantial. The total authorized capacity is 3,077,369 metric tons per year. This is critical. It means a multinational tech company can set up shop in Maharashtra and have a certified, environmentally friendly way to manage their hardware lifecycle. It closes the loop.
So we've covered the digital dominance and the physical foundation, but none of that works without the most important piece of the puzzle, the people, the human capital engine.
And this is where we really see the central challenge, the tension we mentioned at the start.
Let's start with the Live Register snapshot. This tracks the number of job seekers registered with the state's employment and skill centers.
And the number is, well, it's sobering. Up to January 2025, the number of people on that live register was 71.07 lakh.
Over 7 million people. So how do we square that number, 7.1 million people actively looking for work, with this incredible story of a digital boom and massive investment?
That is the absolute core question. It shows you that even with record software exports and billion-dollar investments, the population is so large that job creation has to happen at a blistering pace just to keep up.
It puts immense pressure on the system to translate that investment in Auric or those AI data centers into actual widespread jobs.
It does, and you can see people are actively trying. Over 1 million people registered in these centers in 2024 alone. But that gap between the supply of labor, the 7.1 million, and the immediate demand is it's stark.
So to try and bridge that gap, the state relies on things like job fairs.
Very heavily. The sources say 646 job fairs were held in the fiscal year up to January. It's a massive administrative push to connect employers with potential hires.
And what were the results of those 646 events?
The employer participation was good. About 5,769 entrepreneurs took part. But when you look at the placements, against that backdrop of 7.1 million seekers, 23,776 candidates were selected.
23,000. It's a significant number on its own, but it really highlights the scale of the challenge, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Job fairs alone can't solve this.
No, they can't. Placement is one part. Preparation is the other. That's why these massive government-backed skilling programs are so critical. You have to prepare this population for the jobs being created.
So what are the main skilling programs?
There are a couple of big ones. First is the Pramad Mahajan Kaushalya Ujijikata Vikas Abhiyan, or PMK-UVA. This is about broad foundational skill development. In 2024, nearly 1,016,000 candidates enrolled in it.
And the other one seems more focused on direct work experience.
Yes, the Mukhയമantri Yuva Kari Prachikshan Yojana. That's a structured internship program. And crucially, it's paid. Interns get a stipend of 6,000 to euro 10,000 a month.
Which makes a huge difference. It means people can actually afford to take the internship.
It's a game changer. And the numbers show it's scaling. Nearly 200,000 interns registered, and over 127,000 actually started their placements. And a big chunk of the companies offering these internships are private firms, which is vital.
It ensures the skills they're learning are what the market actually needs.
Precisely. You also have the more traditional apprenticeship training, which reached over 32,000 beneficiaries. So you see this multi-pronged approach: job fairs for immediate matching and massive skilling programs for long-term readiness.
And all of this is happening in one of India's most urbanized states. What do the population projections for March 2025 tell us about that urban-rural split?
The total population is projected to be about 12.83 crore, and the split is almost 50-50. The urban population is projected at 6.3 crore, just a little less than the rural population of 6.54 crore.
So almost half the state lives in cities. That density is what fuels the tech sector, but it also puts incredible strain on infrastructure like transportation.
Which brings us perfectly to the next section, the massive physical connectivity projects that came online right at the start of 2025.
If the digital economy runs on people, those people have to be able to move. And for a city like Mumbai, that's the ultimate challenge. But in January 2025, a huge piece of the puzzle fell into place with the opening of the Mumbai Coastal Road.
This was a huge deal. It's probably the most significant infrastructure update for Mumbai's core business hubs in years. The sources confirmed that key sections of the project were open to traffic from January 2025.
And this isn't just a small flyover. Which specific parts opened up, and what does that actually mean for a commuter?
It means a lot. We're talking about the main southbound lane from the Bandra-Worli Sea Link all the way down to the Princess Street flyover, and the northbound lane from Marine Drive up to the Sea Link.
So it basically creates a high-speed corridor connecting the northern suburbs, where a lot of people live, to the southern business districts.
Yes. It can shave huge amounts of time off a commute that used to be a nightmare of traffic jams. This directly impacts the quality of life and productivity of the very workforce we've been talking about.
It's a critical piece of the puzzle. The other, of course, is the metro network.
Which is expanding at a relentless pace. The big news is Metro Line 3, the one that goes underground through the heart of the city. Phase I of that line, from Erie to the Bandra Kurla Complex, or BKC, opened in October 2024.
And BKC is the new corporate center of gravity. Getting a metro line there is huge.
It's a massive capacity unlock. By November 2024, the civil works for the whole line were 94% done. And even in its early days, that first phase was already carrying over 21,000 passengers a day.
And what about the lines connecting the wider metropolitan region? A lot of the workforce commutes from farther out.
That's where you see the real network effect. Line 2B, serving the western suburbs, was 78% complete. Line 4, which is crucial for connecting Mumbai to Thane, was 75% complete.
And other lines, like Line 5 and 6, are also well underway.
Exactly. It's a comprehensive strategy. And they're already planning for the future, like Line 12, which will connect Kalyan to Taloja.
Taloja, which is one of those dedicated data center hubs we mentioned.
See, the infrastructure planning is directly linked to the digital economy strategy. They're literally building the tracks to where the future jobs are going to be.
And all of this new public transport is desperately needed because of the sheer number of private vehicles.
It's a crisis of volume. The total number of registered motor vehicles hit 4.88 crore on January 1st, 2025.
4.88 crore.
It's an increase of 6.6% in just 1 year. The new roads and metro lines aren't a luxury. They are a necessity to keep the city from grinding to a complete halt.
But there is a positive trend within that surge, right? The move to electric.
Yes. The number of registered battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, hit nearly 6.45 lakh by the end of December 2024. The policy incentives are clearly working, pushing the state towards cleaner transportation.
And finally, looking beyond the cities, the long-term road network is also expanding to connect the industrial hubs.
Right. The state maintains a vast network of over 3.28 lakh kilometers of roads, and big projects like the Pune Ring Road and the Vira Alibag corridor are designed to improve logistics, making it easier to move goods from the ports to tech clusters and industrial parks inland.
So from the metro to the expressways, the physical groundwork is being laid to support the digital ambition.
That's the story.
Okay, we've talked about the code, the concrete, and the commutes. For our last section, let's look at the broader operational environment. The social and administrative systems that create the stability that global investors look for.
This is a really important, though often overlooked, piece. And it starts with pure financial muscle. Maharashtra is still the undisputed economic engine of India.
You see that clearly in the banking data. The state has the highest share of bank deposits at almost 23%, and an even bigger share of gross credit at 28%.
That 28% credit figure is huge. It means the state is driving lending and capital investment for the whole country. And that financial depth is what allows both big corporations and small startups to access the capital they need.
And underpinning that is the spread of digital banking.
Yeah.
We see it in the Jan Dhan Yojana numbers.
We do. Over 3.61 crore of these financial inclusion accounts were opened by the end of 2024. But the key detail is the distribution.
Right.
55% of them were in rural and semi-urban areas. That's so important. It shows that digital financial inclusion is reaching beyond the big cities, creating a massive, digitally savvy consumer base for fintech and e-commerce companies to tap into.
That inclusion then feeds into the digitization of government services, like the public distribution system for food rations.
And this is a massive test of government competence. The One Nation, One Ration Card scheme relies on Aadhaar-based biometric authentication. And in December 2024 alone, about 1.51 crore families successfully used it.
Handling biometrics for 1.5 crore families in a single month. That's a huge operational tech success. What does that signal to an international investor?
It signals reliability. It shows the state can handle large-scale, sensitive digital data securely and efficiently. If you can manage subsidy delivery for your most vulnerable citizens with this tech, it gives global companies confidence that the digital infrastructure is robust and mature.
And briefly, this stability is also supported by progress in basic amenities in rural areas, isn't it?
Absolutely. A stable society is good for business. Under the Jal Jeevan mission, 88% of households now have functional tap water connections as of January 2025. Improving the quality of life across the state provides a solid foundation.
And finally, circling back to the workforce, there's the massive effort to digitally register the informal economy on the eShram portal.
This is a huge data project. Over 1.74 crore workers from the informal sector have been registered. This gives the government an incredible data set for planning welfare, social security, and future skilling programs.
And there's an interesting demographic detail in that data.
Yes, over 55% of those registered were female. It shows how digital registration is giving women in the unorganized sector a formal economic identity, which is a powerful tool for empowerment.
So as we wrap up, this deep dive into Maharashtra's January 2025 snapshot really shows a state in the middle of a massive transformation. And it seems to be driven by these two huge intersecting forces.
It is. On the one hand, you have the physical infrastructure push, the immediate relief from the coastal road, the relentless spread of the metro network, all trying to manage the reality of almost 5 crore vehicles.
And on the other hand, you have the digital ambition. That world-leading startup scene with a quarter of the nation's unicorns and that very deliberate, forward-looking $600 million bet on AI-ready data centers.
It's a synthesis of hardware and software, designed for the computational demands of the next decade, not just for today.
So what's here seems to be that Maharashtra is doing everything it can to cement its position as India's premier high-tech and industrial hub. The foundation being laid right now feels geared for some pretty exponential growth.
I think that's right. But that incredible growth story has to be seen alongside the huge human challenge we identified. And that leaves us with the final thought. Given the state's leadership in creating startups and building AI infrastructure, the real test is still ahead. How can Maharashtra effectively leverage its massive skilling programs, the internships, the vocational training to make sure this tech revolution is genuinely inclusive?
How do they connect the jobs being created in these new high-tech parks to that massive pool of 71.07 lakh people on the live employment register?
Exactly, because their ability to close that gap, the one between digital opportunity and human readiness, that's what will ultimately define whether this incredible leap forward is a success for the entire society.